Imagine you've just tasted glory, year after year. Your team is invincible. Every season ends with arms aloft, medals shining, and the roar of your own crowd ringing in your ears. Now imagine all of that crumbling in a split second, your own hands slipping on the prize, your dreams shattered in front of tens of thousands. What happens when the unthinkable happens in football, and the shockwaves threaten not just reputations, but the financial future of an entire league? In this video, we delve into the jaw-dropping Scottish Cup final where Aberdeen toppled mighty Celtic, ending their bid for a historic sixth treble in 9 years. But this isn't just about heartbreak on the pitch. Beneath the tears and celebrations, there's a high-stakes economic chess game being played out, with millions on the line, league revenues in flux, and technology shaping every move. Is Aberdeen's victory just a sporting upset, or a sign that Scottish football's power structure is about to be turned upside down? Let's break down the story. For nearly a decade, Celtic have ruled Scottish football with a kind of icy, relentless efficiency. The numbers alone are staggering. 5 trebles, meaning league title, national cup, and League Cup wins, in just 8 years. Stadiums sold out, shirts flying off the shelves, sponsorship deals that make headlines far beyond Scotland's borders. In recent years, even their fiercest rivals, Rangers, have struggled to keep pace with the juggernaut from Glasgow's East End. But one club, Aberdeen, has always loomed as a wild card. With a proud history, devoted fan base, and a chip the size of the North Sea on their shoulders, Aberdeen's glory days seemed like relics of the 1980s and early 90s. That is, until now. The 2024 Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park was more than just another trophy match. The stadium was packed, the largest final attendance since 2019. Celtic fans came expecting a coronation. Aberdeen's faithful came believing only in a miracle. What they got was something neither could quite believe. Aberdeen, led by a manager determined to rewrite club history, faced a Celtic side that had looked untouchable. The match began with tension so thick you could feel it through the TV screen. Celtic's Alfie Dorrington opened the scoring, or so it seemed, as his own goal put Aberdeen on the back foot and the green and white end of the stadium exploded in hope. But this wasn't a Celtic team at their ruthless best. Expert Graham Souness would later call Aberdeen's tactics a masterclass, as they smothered Celtic's usual creative outlets. Whenever Celtic pressed forward, Aberdeen stood tall, a wall of red, unyielding and determined. And then, with just minutes left, disaster struck for Celtic. Their own goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, misjudged a low cross, and in a flash, the ball was in the back of his own net. The stadium gasped. For the first time in 6 matches, Celtic had failed to score from open play against Aberdeen, a statistic that sent shockwaves through Scottish football circles. The match dragged on through extra time. Both sides looked exhausted, nerves fraying in the humid Glasgow dusk. As the whistle blew, the prospect of penalties loomed, football's cruelest decider. Callum McGregor, Celtic's captain and emotional leader, stepped up first. He had never lost a cup final, never missed a crucial penalty for the club. But this was a different night. Aberdeen's Dimitar Maitov, whose name would become legend before the evening was out, leapt to his right and saved McGregor's shot. Celtic fans groaned. Aberdeen fans held their breath. The penalty shootout was a blur of hope and agony. Aberdeen's players kept their nerve, slotting home shot after shot. When Mitov denied Alistair Johnston, the red half of Hampden erupted. The Dons had done it. Aberdeen secured their first Scottish Cup since 1990, and the green and white dream of another treble evaporated in the misty Glasgow night. For McGregor, the defeat was devastating. Tears streamed down his face as Aberdeen lifted the cup. "The worst moment I've ever had in football," he admitted to reporters, voice cracking. The pain was raw. He had just missed out on his 25th winner's medal. But this wasn't just about emotion. Finance and opportunity swirled in the air. Aberdeen's win did more than fill trophy cabinets and hearts. It guaranteed entry to the lucrative UEFA Europa League qualifiers, a potential windfall of millions. Merchandise sales for the final soared, up 25% compared to previous years, according to the Scottish FA. Experts immediately began dissecting the match and its implications. Ali McCoist, himself a legend of Scottish football, noted Mitov's world-class saves as the match's turning point. Pat Bonner, former Celtic and Republic of Ireland keeper, was blunt in post-match analysis. Celtic ran out of ideas. There was no urgency, no penetration. Willie Miller, Aberdeen's own icon, described the victory as a statement of resurgence. And John Collins, another ex-Celtic man, delivered a sharp warning. Rodgers underestimated Aberdeen's resolve. There was no plan B. For the first time in years, Aberdeen looked like more than a plucky underdog. Their tactical discipline, energy, and sheer willpower had flipped the script. And yet, for Celtic, the financial and strategic implications are immense. The defeat is likely to prompt a major spending spree in the summer transfer window. Squad depth, creative spark, fighting spirit, everything will be under review. Boardrooms across Glasgow are already calculating the cost of failure and the risk of falling even further behind Europe's elite. Meanwhile, Aberdeen's success is drawing new attention. With European games ahead and newfound sponsor interest, the Dons could leverage this triumph into long-term growth. Scottish football experts are already whispering, could more teams copy Aberdeen's defensive blueprint to frustrate the old giants? The impact could be seismic. More money, more competition, more unpredictability, a league transformed by one night's drama. Revenue-sharing models, TV rights, and even the foundations of Scottish football's power structure may be up for grabs. But beneath the economic forces and tactical analysis, there's a human story. Callum McGregor and his teammates stood and applauded their conquerors as the confetti fell. Manager Brendan Rodgers, in his first-ever Cup final defeat with Celtic, consoled his captain. "It can happen to anyone," Rodgers said. "Keep your head up. You've done so much for this club." The scars will linger through the summer. The questions will grow louder. Can Celtic buy, build, or will their empire begin to crumble? Is Aberdeen the start of a new era, or just a fleeting spark in Celtic's long reign? And what does all this mean for fans, sponsors, and the very future shape of Scottish football? Will this shock result trigger a new financial arms race in the league, or something even more radical? As the dust settles on Hampden Park, one thing is certain: Scottish football will never be quite the same again. But how far will the shockwaves reach? And who will seize the new opportunities rising from this night of heartbreak and triumph? As the echoes of celebration faded from Hampden Park, the Scottish football landscape stood on the edge of a dramatic new chapter. What happens next, after Aberdeen's seismic win over Celtic, is more than just a matter of trophies. It's about ambition, pride, financial muscle, and the psychology of champions and challengers. If the first act of this story was shocking, the next could reshape Scottish football for years to come. For Celtic, the defeat was nothing short of historic. Instead of a sixth treble in 9 years, the season ends with stinging disappointment. Captain Callum McGregor's tears and the team's visible pain on the pitch left no doubt. This was more than just a lost final. As McGregor himself put it, "The worst moment I've ever had in football. It's a real sore one." Yet for a club accustomed to winning, such moments often become the seeds of renewal, or, occasionally, the first cracks of decline. Brendan Rodgers, tasting defeat in a domestic cup final for the first time as Celtic's manager, now faces huge questions. Will he double down on his philosophy, or will the pressure force a reimagining of his methods? Expert John Collins suggested Rodgers underestimated Aberdeen's resolve and defensive structure. Expect to see a response driven by both pride and necessity. Already, reports from within Celtic hint at significant summer investment. The front office is acutely aware that dominance can be fleeting, especially when rivals sense weakness. Transfers, tactical tweaks, and perhaps even a shakeup in the coaching staff are all on the table. But renewal carries risks. Historically, big spending sprees, especially reactionary ones, don't always yield success. If Celtic panic, the chemistry of the squad could suffer. On the other hand, a measured, ambitious recruitment drive could reinforce their grip on Scottish football. One thing is certain: the board isn't about to sit on its hands. Failure in a club like Celtic is never tolerated for long. Meanwhile, Aberdeen's future suddenly glimmers with opportunity, and, inevitably, new challenges. Their first Scottish Cup since 1990 has sent a surge of belief through the club and the city. Financially, the windfall is transformative: prize money, boosted merchandise sales, and a guaranteed place in the Europa League qualifiers. According to the Scottish FA, merchandise sales spiked by 25%, with red scarves and replica kits flying off shelves. One Aberdeen executive reportedly declared, "We've never seen the tills ring like this in a generation." But money alone doesn't guarantee sustained success. As manager Barry Robson basks in the glow of victory, the task ahead is as daunting as it is exciting. The team must upgrade its squad to compete on multiple fronts. Europa League qualifiers will stretch resources and focus, and rivals will now see Aberdeen as a threat to be studied, not just a final underdog. Will the owners and sponsors step up with new investments? Can the recruitment team unearth the next Maitov, the hero of Hampden, before bigger clubs come calling? There's also the psychological shift. Willie Miller called the win a statement of Aberdeen's resurgence. But the real test is consistency. After all, Scottish football has witnessed Cinderella stories before, only for the magic to fade when the reality of week-in, week-out competition sets in. Sustained success will require not just new players but a culture shift across the club. The bigger picture? The Scottish League itself stands to change. Normally, a Celtic or Rangers stranglehold means predictable narratives and an almost feudal division of revenue and attention. Now, Aberdeen's win could spark broader conversations about how the SPFL distributes its riches. More money in the hands of ambitious, well-run clubs outside Glasgow could translate into a league that's more compelling for fans and more attractive to sponsors and broadcasters. Graham Souness forecasted, "This is the kind of result that forces everyone to raise their game." Aberdeen's tactical blueprint, organized defense, disciplined midfield, lethal counterattacks, will surely be studied and perhaps copied by other Scottish clubs, especially when facing the traditional Big Two. This could prompt Celtic and Rangers to rethink how they break down disciplined, compact teams. For neutrals, it means more unpredictability, more tension, and fewer easy games for the giants of the league. But with opportunity comes risk. If Celtic spin out after this defeat, if their spending or internal politics go awry, it could open the door to a true power shift, not just a one-off upset. On the flip side, if Aberdeen fail to build on this success, the league could revert to old hierarchies, and their triumph will be remembered as a glorious, isolated thunderclap. Just as importantly, this final revealed the raw emotional stakes that define football. Callum McGregor's decision to stand and applaud Aberdeen as they collected their medals was a mark of leadership, the fuel he vowed to use for Celtic's comeback. It's a powerful reminder for anyone, athlete or fan, that pain can spark growth. So what lessons can we, as viewers and fans, draw from this shock to the footballing order? The first is that in sport, and in life, dominance is never permanent. Even the strongest teams can fall, and when they do, it's often the result of 1,000 tiny margins. A goalkeeper's reach, a misjudged pass, a tactical masterstroke. Aberdeen's win shows the importance of courage and belief. Their players, written off by many as underdogs, executed a plan with absolute conviction. As Ali McCoist put it, Mitov was world-class, but Aberdeen as a unit were something else, disciplined, fearless, and hungry. For anyone watching, it's proof that collective effort and the right mindset can topple even the biggest obstacles. For the aspiring athlete or coach, the tactical lesson is clear. A well-drilled defense and the courage to attack at the right moment can neutralize even the most talented opposition. It's not always about possession or star names. It's about resilience, opportunism, and total commitment to the team's plan. For club executives and business-minded fans, Aberdeen's windfall offers a lesson in seizing the moment. Success on the pitch quickly translates to windfalls off it, new revenue streams, heightened interest, and the ability to attract better talent. But it's a window that doesn't stay open forever. The real winners will be those who turn a flash of brilliance into lasting growth, investing wisely, building infrastructure, and keeping fans engaged long after the confetti settles. And for the league, this is the moment to consider structural reforms. Is it time to revisit how TV deals and prize money are shared out? Should the SPFL encourage greater parity to keep stories like Aberdeen's alive? The answer may determine whether this year's final is a turning point or a brief interruption in Glasgow's reign. For Celtic fans, the pain is real, but so is the opportunity. McGregor's words, "Sometimes you have to go through a wee bit of adversity to grow and get better," ring true not just for players but for all of us. Setbacks, no matter how public or painful, can become rocket fuel for future triumphs. As we wrap up, let's return to the heart of our question. Is this the beginning of a true power shift in Scottish football, or just a glorious one-off upset? Looking at the evidence, the honest answer is, it's too soon to declare a revolution. But Aberdeen's victory has moved the boundaries. They've shown the rest of the league, fans, players, and owners alike, that underdogs can still bite, that ambition and teamwork matter, and that nothing, not even Celtic's dominance, is guaranteed. Watch carefully this summer. The transfer market, boardroom maneuvers, and preseason friendlies will write the next chapter. Will Celtic come back stronger, galvanized, angry, and improved? Or will Aberdeen and others seize their moment to close the gap, upending decades of Glasgow dominance? One secret fact that not many outside the boardrooms know: Aberdeen's win has already sparked calls among SPFL club executives for a mid-season review of revenue distribution, something not seen since the early 2000s. Could this be the catalyst that finally shakes up how Scottish football operates at its core? One thing is certain, drama is guaranteed. If you love football, now is the time to pay attention. Let us know in the comments, do you think Aberdeen's victory marks a turning point or just a bump in Celtic's era of dominance? What would you change to make the league even more exciting? And which club do you believe is best positioned to challenge for silverware next season? If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next breakdown of the biggest stories in world football. Thanks for watching.